Hi, welcome back into our third edition of the See You Try show. So I brought some company with me to talk about our upcoming neighborhood safety meetings and our community violence response efforts. And again, I realize I'm jumping in with both feet and I've said a whole bunch of things that probably don't make sense to you. So I'm gonna let them introduce themselves and we're gonna get going. So, hi.
Sounds good. Hi, my name is Mary Catherine Roberson. I'm with the Champaign County Community Coalition and the Community Violence Response Task Force.
And my name is Yolanda Hunter, and I'm with Youth and Family Peer Support Alliance, and I'm also with the Community Response Task Force. Several roles, I'm sorry, it's just so much. But yes, I'm part of the response team, and I'm also on the See You Try Community Response Board.
So, hi, well, welcome. I'm glad you're both here. So maybe it would be helpful for you to explain a little bit about why I invited you and what we hope to be talking about.
So, I think you invited us. So we could talk about the efforts around the community violence and the response team, and also we do these monthly meetings, neighborhood safety meetings. So people that are in the communities where the violence is most effective could come out and voice their concerns and talk about the needs and see what resources are available for them. And I think just being here on the show will kind of help broaden our, broaden the area around where people can hear more about what's going on, and just to get it out there so people could know, because people may not be aware that this is even in existence in Champaign-Urbana. And just being able to let people know how effective it is for the community.
Oh, that's a great explanation. Okay, Mary Catherine, what would you say? Because Yolanda said a lot, which was great and really explained it. No, but what else could you add?
I would piggyback off that with these neighborhood safety forums. We really want to get the word out. We're having them alternating months between Champaign and Urbana. So we really want the people who live in the neighborhoods to be represented at these safety forums. So I think we wanted to come and just to echo what she said, get the word out that these are happening, and really to let people know that that we want them to come to these forums not only to discuss their concerns, but also to discuss solutions. And we are a very actions-based group. So when we come out and kind of get the people together, we really do want to see what kind of solutions they might have for their own neighborhoods, and then rally around that and try to implement some of those solutions.
Right.
So this is probably a great segue. So Mary Catherine, I'm going to actually put this question to you first, and Yolanda, you can sort of tag team. Why do you think that there's a need for it? I mean, you're working with the city.
Yes, ma'am.
What's bumbling up? What are you hearing that makes a need for us to sort of get out into the neighborhood and try to solicit from them, to listen and hear?
Well, I think when we first started, we were doing we were doing the community violence response forum. So we were going into the neighborhoods.
Can you explain a little bit about that?
Sure.
People, right?
That has been something where people have heard about both, and it is like, well, what's a safety forum versus a response forum? So the crisis response forums kind of arose an incidence of community violence that we would find out the immediate needs of people who were affected. We would go out into the neighborhoods and canvass, sharing those resources that Yolanda referred to. And then we would host a forum where people in the neighborhood that were affected by the community crisis could come and find out, updates from the police, updates from school officials, updates from community leaders about what was going on. Crime Stoppers. They could learn also about resources for mental health and for trauma and ways that they could really process the crisis that was happening in the community.
Right.
So I think out of that spawned where we realized the need to be in these neighborhoods at times absent of crisis and to be more proactive and to show up in these impacted neighborhoods to hear people, to make those relationships and make those connections at a time that wasn't a crisis.
Right.
So that's when we started hosting the neighborhood safety forums, again, as a way to be proactive and to get out and hear the voices of the community and get their concerns directly from them, again, like I said, as well as their ideas surrounding solutions.
Wow. Okay. No, I know. What do you think? I think that was wow. You explained that very, very well, and I think hopefully the audience understands that there are two different things. There are community violence response forums that are designed in a crisis, and then there are these neighborhood safety meetings that are these proactive opportunities for people in neighborhoods most impacted by. I won't say that. Communities where individuals who live in neighborhoods where they have said, or local government has said, or people have said, hey, we'd want to get involved in sort of being more proactive and addressing our community's needs. Because I don't want to say, like, first of all, right, we don't want to stigmatize neighborhoods and
Right,
say
of course, right,
neighborhoods like,
Right.
like that are, most impacted. But I really feel like we've sort of targeted neighborhoods where people have said, we want you to come. We're willing to be mobilized. We're interested in
Absolutely.
being mobilized. And so I just put that as a plug,
Right,
right?
of
So
course.
that people could know that they could invite us to host a neighborhood meeting
Right.
that similarly, you mentioned the community violence response meetings. And I know one of the things that we've been bubbling up, right, as a group, and I'm actually going to circle back around and have people understand what the group is. But one of the things that we've been talking about is how do people, if there is a crisis in the community and people would like to have like a forum, how would people find out about that? Like what would be that process? If I'm like in a neighborhood or if an incident has happened in the community and I feel like I'd like to gather the community together, I'd like to hear sort of what's happening, I want a space where I can kind of ask questions and maybe find out where I can get support, how would I do that?
So we have a number that you can call or text. That's 217-673-7122. And you can call or text that number again to request either type of forum. Or you can email at curesponds@gmail.com. And that will put you immediately in contact with someone from CU Tri or Community Violence Response Team so that we can start looking at the neighborhood and what, Champaign or Urbana, so we can identify the necessary individuals that would need to be in the room.
Yeah.
And we will really hope, because there's so many other organizations involved, that if a person just can't remember those numbers or that email address, that they can call the police station, they can call the city building, they can call and say, hey, I heard it was something that will help you with when a crisis is going on in the neighborhood. Could you give me the number? How can I access that? I will hope that would be also in addition, because we do have a lot of people that's involved.
Yeah.
So even if they can, if you don't know, just say, hey, I'm going to call the city building. I'm going to call, somebody has to know something, And so that's
Or you
why
can
we
call
try to put-
Yolanda. No.
Yeah, call me.
Tag her on
Yeah.
Facebook.
Get me on
Well,
Facebook.
that's what I was gonna,
Get
yeah,
me on Instagram.
I was going to throw out social media. So, most of our groups have Facebook pages also. And so, like, the Champaign County Community Coalition is at Walk as One. So we try to share. That's kind of a hub that we try to share out from all of our partners' events that we have going on there.
Right.
So if you might not be able to find everybody's individual page, maybe start there and link your way in. So, that's, of course, for people who have social media, recognizing that not everyone does.
And I just want to add to the question with when Karen, you said about being more of a stigmatized neighborhood, because people have sometimes people do go because, that's not a good neighborhood, that they think people in that neighborhood don't care about their neighborhood, but everyone cares about where they live, and they want to be safe, they want to feel secure, kids want to be able to play. And so even if a neighborhood is not what we call the best neighborhood or the most prettiest neighborhood with walking sidewalks and dogs playing in the yard and little picket fence, people still care about where they live, and they want to feel safe, they want to feel secure, and they want to be able to enjoy being at home at night or being at home in the day and sitting on their porch and not worry about, guns, people shooting guns, people fighting, or whatever, people breaking into the house next door, whatever's going on. They just want to know that, hey, we care about our neighborhood. We want to be safe too, regardless of where it is.
Right, and sometimes they care and they want to help and they don't know
Right.
where to go.
Right.
So I think that's why this was an awesome idea when Karen invited us here to get that information out there, because there are people who feel like, I do have concerns about my neighborhood, or I do have questions and I'm not sure who to ask, or
Right.
not even really sure where to start. So here you'll find a group of people who are inclusive and welcoming and willing to, help
Right.
answer those questions or help direct to those resources.
And who care, because most of the time you hear people say they don't care about what's going on over here. They won't even fix a street light. They won't even do this. And I'm using my little Ebonics like ant and all that. That's because the reality of it is that people feel that other people don't care, when there is people who do care, because it affects us. Even if I don't say in that neighborhood where the shot is, if resources have to be deployed out there, police and all this type of thing, that affect my neighborhood, because if something happened over where I live at, they can't go. So we want to make sure that everyone is safe and that we're using the resources for our community in a way that is most helpful.
Yeah. So passionate.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely,
And so
absolutely.
I realized we dived in and maybe want to take one step back. I'm going to ask you about what happens at these exciting neighborhood
Oh.
safety meetings. But I didn't, we said, hey, I'm with the Community Violence Response Team, and I know I need to bring Tracy in to talk about the coalition.
Right,
But maybe
right.
we need to explain a little bit about who we are, because if you don't know,
Right,
you're
right,
like,
kind of a jump in.
Like, what are they talking about anyway?
I
don't know
know.
what they're talking
I didn't
about.
even know that there was a
Right.
community violence response effort. So, can you share a little bit about that group and who's there and who's invited and all of that good stuff?
So the community response group usually, it's most likely Karen. Most likely Karen. Sometimes maybe me. But it's people like community leaders, people from the city building. You may have police officers, depending on how close we have this community safety response forum. And we are talking about the forum, right? Not the meeting.
Yeah, I'm talking about who's the team, who's a part of the community, in the task force,
Right.
who's a part of that
Okay.
larger group, like who shows up, who's involved, what is it? Because we just are describing it, and if you
Right,
don't know,
absolutely.
you're like, I don't know who
So
this
you
is.
have a lot of local social service agencies, the police department, the city building,
In Champaign and Urbana.
if in Champaign,
county.
yep, and Urbana. You have community members, people who are just plain old stakeholders. You have,
Well, I was just going to say, one of the things that I've heard it likened to a lot, Tracy Parsons is our Community
Yep,
Coalition
yep.
facilitator. The Community Coalition has priority areas, one of them being community violence. So the Community Violence Response Task Force is one of these groups that's come out of the community violence priority area. And so I've heard it likened to how if there's a natural disaster or a flood or a fire and you need immediate help and you can call Red Cross or you know who to call to help get you a hotel room or who can help you get clothes. But in incidents of community violence or community crisis, there wasn't a mechanism that we could activate that would really
Right.
help people get access to those
Right.
same resources.
Yeah.
So the idea of the Community Violence Response Task Force is that we would have a group of people, again, representing Champaign and Urbana, representing law enforcement, representing the community, representing social services, that could be a group that in times of crisis we could act as a grassroots version of Red Cross, or a grassroots disaster relief group that could really get in there. And there have been family members who need hotels because they don't want to go home after a shooting
Right.
or an incident at their house, or their kids are afraid to go to school and they need someone to talk to who's trauma informed and can maybe help them help them process that. So calling that number, that 217. Just kidding. 217-673-7122 will get you access to that network the same way when you called Red Cross after a fire, you'd get that response. We want to deliver, we deliver that same similar response in times of community crisis.
That's great.
Is that good?
So it sounds, I think it's great. So it
Okay.
kind of helps contextualize the work so people know. I loved Yolanda the pitch. Like, if you are somebody who's like sitting on your couch or with your group, and you're like, I want to be involved in a collective where we get together and think about how do we better respond to the community. Folks are invited.
Right.
You can call any of those phone
Right.
numbers, and we have both daytime meetings and afternoon meetings, so
Times,
there's
right.
never an excuse.
Right.
We also have a call-in option, and so as a part of that, I just want to pitch. We've done needs assessments. We're continuing
Right.
to do needs assessments. We're coming up with community violence response meetings and other things. We have a response network. So, and when people come to the group, like, we seem to sort of adopt whatever ideas people
Right.
bring, and we try to
Absolutely.
bring those
Right.
into fruition. So now that I've explained what the whole community violence response team is and how people can be involved, let's circle back to the neighborhood safety meeting. So people have mentioned that. Have you had any? Have there been any of these neighborhood safety meetings, or is this like a new thing? Or
I think we had our first one in October.
Okay.
So this we have one coming up, and we'll talk more about that one.
Right.
That's March 3rd. But we've had, I think we've had 3 to date.
Yep.
Okay.
And again, we've gone back and forth between Champaign and Urbana.
That's right.
And so we've partnered with like the neighborhood associations for the city, or, you know, whether it is in Champaign and Urbana, to host these events, again, like I said, on a monthly basis. Do you want to talk a little bit about what they entail?
Because I was like, what can people expect? Because
So-
if I show up, what will happen?
You
Okay.
will get food, so we will feed you.
Every
That's
time.
for sure. So don't stay home because you need to cook dinner. So come on out. So you eat well. We do a group discussion. We do like an icebreaker. We put people in groups based off of colors. We try to make it fun. We have
Hold on
little
with the colors. People are identified by a color when they come in, like a sticker. And then we separate them based on the colors of their stickers.
Mary Catherine's
Well, I
like,
heard we
no, we don't
separate-
put tribes.
We don't separate people by color.
We're not gang affiliation. Right?
That's not red and blue, okay?
So we like for people to be
Right.
randomly assorted, or,
Right.
you know. So if you come in with your family or you come in with your friends,
You
we
won't be all
assign
sitting
people these
together.
colored stickers
Yeah.
so that we can break them up,
Right.
And hopefully you'll get some feedback from people outside of your network,
Right.
But like you said, we have the icebreakers to kind of kick it off, and then we break into kind of roundtable discussions, and each table has a facilitator, and there's you know, a list of guided questions to help kind of facilitate the discussion. But the table is obviously free to you know, insert any commentary or concerns that they have, and then after they report out at their tables. Is it okay if I keep going? Yep. Towards the end, I didn't want to take everything. And then towards the end of, you know, at the end of the meeting, after that roundtable kind of discussion portion, we're put, you know, we get like the, you
Sticky
know,
notes
sticky
over-
notes,
large
gigantic
sticky
sticky
notes.
notes on the walls, and we're able to have a speak out at what each table discussed. From there, we're able to talk about like what are the overlapping security concerns that several people have identified or several groups have identified. Then we talk about, you know, who might be responsible for addressing these issues, whether, you know, whatever entity that the group thinks might be responsible, and then, you know, what action steps are we prepared to take
Right.
from these identified needs assessments, so that, you know, it looked different when we did it in Countrybrook versus when we did it, you know, at King Elementary. And, you know, we're going to be at Salt and Light on Tuesday. Well, you'll hear that again.
Okay.
And that might look different entirely. So
Right.
the format will be the same in terms of what to expect. You know, we'll get to know each other. We'll do some roundtables. We'll do some speak outs. We'll eat. But the, you know, that and solutions action base, that's driven by the people who live there, and the people who come to contribute their thoughts. So, you know, we let that part really be kind of free and open to hear feedback from the people who are most, you know, who are most affected by what goes on in the neighborhood, in their own neighborhoods.
Yeah. So Yolanda, do you have anything else to add?
Mary Catherine has said it all.
Okay, so I do have a real question for you. So if I'm sitting at home and I'm like, this is the 14th community meeting that people have had, and I come and put my stuff on the wall, and it's all well and good. How is this different? What could you say is different about this experience?
Well, I can say I've seen personally a new neighborhood association that formed out of this. You know, a neighborhood that didn't have an organized structure prior to us coming in. And I mean, not that we are trying to be savers out here, but we go
We're
into,
not.
you know, we really want to go into neighborhoods and really help rally people who already have the passion and who already have the drive and who already have the abilities.
Right.
So when, you know, so the way I can say that that's different is I've just seen the follow up. You know,
Yeah.
we're consistent and we come back, and it's not a pop up, you know, one time, get your information and leave the neighborhood and never come back. It really truly is a get your information, run it up to the necessary people, you know, and then whatever those needs that we've identified or you've identified for your neighborhood, you know, we try to make some of those connections to make some of those things happen. And so, I mean, we get that question kind of a lot about the meetings. And so just to speak to that, a lot of these great ideas and great initiatives that are actions now started in meetings. I'm really fond of saying you have to rally the troops. And if you have a lot of people with a lot of great ideas, but no structure in place for them to all come together and no resources for them to implement any of their ideas, we feel like we're spinning our wheels.
Right.
So by bringing these organizations and these, you know, the cities into it, we're able to try to give the resources to the people who have the ideas. Just kind of trying to help them out, help support.
And I think the key
Okay.
thing to that is that people have to take back control of their neighborhoods. We can come and give you the information and let you know, because sometimes people just need that push to say, okay, I didn't know that this was available. Now that I know that this is available and we've made some necessary steps, we know how to move around getting things done, then they'll start taking action. And that's what we have noticed with most of the neighborhoods. Even the neighborhood that my mom lived in, where we had over there, Beardsley.
Yeah.
And they're doing things. They put lights up.
Yeah.
They're knocking on the doors. They're letting people know when the next neighborhood meeting is going to be. And I think that in order for this to be successful, we have to give ownership back to the people in the neighborhood, because it's about them, and it's not about us that's coming in. We just coming in just to be a stepping stone or a tool that they can use so they can rise themselves up and be the neighborhood that they want to be. So I think it's really giving them the power.
Absolutely. Empowerment.
And what's been super exciting from my perspective, and there's no guarantee, but it's sort of being able to take those feedback forms and having neighbors reference, like, you promised that we were going to work on streetlights, and what are we doing, and what's that looking like? And so I think because it's a formal structure where you take the grassroots effort and then, as Mary Catherine said, leverage it with locating it on somebody's to-do list or task list. Sometimes it's the neighborhood's task list, because that's where the locus of control, but also when it really becomes like local government or it becomes a department's need, then sending it back to them and really sort of prioritizing that need. And the great thing, because there's a report out, I want to tell you, that doesn't just sort of die on the vine. Like those get pushed out. Everybody who attended the meeting who says, email it to me, they have a copy. We try to be as transparent as possible because we really want to not make this one of those meetings where you went, you provided great input, you're not ever sure what happened to it.
Well, and we even offer a mailing option for people who don't have email addresses. So if you're there and you fill out an assessment, or you're there and you just want to know the results and you don't have an email or access to, we'll physically mail you a hard copy of the results of the survey.
So I know, I guess I think we've done a pretty hard sell, right?
Yeah, I think so.
But I do want to say, if you have like one last call, like if you were going to sort of, out to the audience to say a couple of things that you want to share, what would be the call?
My call would be for the people who see these neighborhood forums and realize that we're really calling on the people who live there to come. We're excited when Karen comes. We're excited when Mary Catherine comes and Yolanda shows up. But it's really, for this to work, it is incumbent on, it's really important that the people who live in the neighborhoods come. And I also would like to say that we provide childcare. So, and we, again, I've mentioned that we're a very inclusive group, but we represent all faiths and backgrounds and colors and creeds, and we ourselves come from different corners of the community. But we really want people who live in the neighborhood. So again, this next one that's at Salt and Light in Urbana, we're going to be. Is it too soon to jump into?
No, go. No, that's perfect. Pitch it. Yeah,
so
that's
we
right.
have Tuesday, March 3rd at Salt and Light. We have our next neighborhood safety forum from 6 to 8 p.m. So the Sunday before, which is this Sunday, the 1st, March 1st, from 3 to 5, we will be canvassing that neighborhood. So we'll be meeting at 3 p.m. at Salt and Light, and then we'll do a breakout. We do teams. We go door to door, and we're inviting everybody in the neighborhood to come. We're passing flyers. And so if you've never knocked on doors to invite people to things before, we have lots of people who have. So we'll do like a really quick training, and then you'll go with somebody who's more comfortable. And, so we're not going to ask you to do anything that you're not comfortable to do. But we will say that it's so much more impactful when people who live in the neighborhoods are going out and asking people who live in their neighborhoods to come to something that affects their neighborhoods. So that's my call, is to the Salt and Light area, that Silverwood neighborhood, 3 o'clock Sunday. I'll be with flyers at the parking lot of Salt and Light with our team. We'd love for you to join us.
Yeah, that's right.
And I would just say, come out. Just come out. And even if you are not a part of the Vulture or the neighborhood around that area, come out anyway so you can just see what it is, how we operate, what's going on. So you may want to have a neighborhood safety meeting in your neighborhood. So just come out. Support people that's in our community, because this is Champaign-Urbana and it's one big community. And so I think that we're all affected in some type of way. just come out, be supportive, learn what you can do, support other neighborhoods, and hey, next time we'll be in your neighborhood.
Absolutely. And that was a perfect
That was
pitch.
good, that was
So
good.
I think everyone hinted every other month. Some months we're in Champaign, some months we're in Urbana. We alternate months, so there will be another neighborhood safety meeting in Champaign. I know we've talked about April is going to be this whole focus on early childhood. So we don't know the location of that, but know that there's going to be a huge push for people with young children. So we want to do
Right.
something. We'll be doing something special for you. Anything else that you want to add beyond? Yeah, because we got 5 minutes, so now we can kind of free associate, right? Now you can.
Well,
Look for these cards. Where would they be placed? Everywhere.
They are everywhere, kinda. That's a great thing. So the cards are about how you call and activate the help.
Right.
And so right now, the places where they're primarily located. So some school social workers have them, police departments have them, and we respond at Carle Hospital. So those are the places right now where we have them. However, if we got more volunteers, we could put them everywhere.
Right.
So this is like a great. So we need people. We need more people who can be available for our community rescue effort. So if you think about Red Cross, right?
Right.
It is not just 10 or 15 people. There are a lot of different
whole
people who can
squad,
be
right.
activated.
Maybe we could be Red Cross big one day.
I know, maybe
Right,
we
well,
could be
right.
Red Cross big, but hopefully,
no, but it is.
but I hope not, right?
Hope we don't need it,
hopefully we
right?
don't need it, right? We don't want to be Red Cross, but as long as there are needs, if you think about the number of shooting incidents we have, and if we were able to touch the lives of everybody who was impacted by gun violence, their neighbors, their extended networks, we know that we could promote more healing and resilience, and wellness. And so that is yet another pitch. If you want to get involved and help out so that we can literally touch everybody, we would love to have more volunteers.
Right.
Right, and this is a space, again,
And this
I've
is
said
a-
it before, it's for everyone, so
and
you
this
can
is the-
join.
Where we better find this flyer.
Oh,
This
yeah.
says get involved.
Now that one
Right,
is everywhere.
Everywhere.
That is
Get
everywhere.
involved. It's very important. I'm a firm believer in getting involved in your neighborhood, volunteering your time and efforts. The more people get involved, the better things can be. And I want to beseech you, that the Bible word, to just get involved in your neighborhood, in your community.
And we will make room for your gifts.
Yes, we will.
Whatever gifts you have.